Welcome to the Messenger-Inquirer Gridiron Report, sponsored by Crandall's Home Furnishings and Carpets Unlimited. I'm Scott Hagerman, and with me is Jim Pickens. And Jim, I feel like this past week the playoff picture really came into focus, and now we kind of know where everybody stands.
Yeah, we do. It's you know, when you reach the when you reach the ninth game in the regular season, those are always big games. A lot of home field advantage at stake, and we saw that. District championships at stake. We saw that this week. Yeah, I think it's really clear now what our teams have to do well in the postseason, and you know, that's what's fun about it. We got one more week of the regular season, and this is really mostly a tune-up for most of these teams, trying to get ready. And I think the teams that did well this past week have taken a step in the right direction towards gaining some momentum for the postseason. Right. Scott, I don't think you can just switch. You can't just turn the switch on when the postseason reaches. Right. You know.
Well, let's get right to the highlights of the Owensboro High School Madisonville North Hopkins game at Rash Stadium this past Friday. This was maybe the biggest game of all as far as postseason implications. Whoever won this game was going to get the first round home playoff game, which you can't overestimate how important that is to a team's playoff potential. Owensboro pulls it out 24-22 on a Graham Gilliam 32-yard field goal as time expired. Was it as good a game as the final score indicates it was?
It was. I had the fortune of covering this game, and this was an excellent ball game, Scott. This was Madisonville North Hopkins. We talked about this going into this game. They were one of those teams a little bit under the radar. They came into Rash Stadium with every intention of winning this game, and very easily could have won the game. You got to give Owensboro a lot of credit because they came up with a big defensive play late. Then they nursed the clock. They moved the ball down the field and nursed the clock. Moved the ball into position so it was in the middle of the field, and Coach Prince called timeout with, I think it was like 2.7 seconds to go. And then Graham Gilliam, who had come into the game, Scott, 0 for 5 on field goals this year, hit his third consecutive field goal of this game, a 32-yarder as time expired. And it was just a dramatic finish, and they piled on Graham at the end of the game, and rightly so. He was definitely the hero.
Well, what's interesting here about Owensboro is I think they showed as much heart as they've shown in any game this year. You know, they go into the game already without their real starting quarterback. Cal Prince gone, most likely for the year with a broken leg. So they've got Jacob Roberts back there. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes Cameron Kelly. Yep. Talk about that and what he did.
Well, Cameron Kelly just played that great relief role. I mean, he actually filled in for Owensboro much like Jacob Roberts did when Cal Prince got hurt against Apollo. You'll recall he had a great game in that game, and Cameron Kelly had an equally phenomenal game in this one. He just added so much energy to their attack, and I think he 71 yards on 9 carries. I mean, he was absolutely effective on the ground, and he just brought some energy to the table, and I thought he was the one that sort of brought this team back and gave Gilliam a chance at the end to win it.
Owensboro's running game continues to show strength after kind of being suspect a little bit early in the year. Kendall Tinsley runs for 133 yards on 15 carries. North actually outgains Owensboro overall by almost 100 yards, 352 to 256. But once again, that shows where you can't always put emphasis on that because Owensboro did a good job of forcing turnovers and doing the things you have to do.
Yeah, they did. And they also didn't turn the ball over themselves, which is always crucial in a game like this. Turnovers, mistakes, they're going to always play a big role in a game where it's pretty evenly matched, and that's what this was. I do want to mention, Scott, Trey Carr for Madisonville North Hopkins, because we could, you know, we may run into this guy again. I know Apollo's got them this week. This young man is an excellent quarterback. He's a junior, and he throws the ball well on the run, right. Scrambling, but he's a great runner, and he's a true weapon, and he makes them a threat to win.
The other 5A game involving our teams was Barren County and Ohio County. Ohio loses in overtime. That's right. 22-20. We thought this was a game Ohio could win because Barren came in on a 7-game losing streak. Did it surprise you Ohio wasn't able to get over the hump and win this?
Yeah,
one?
I thought Ohio would win this ball game. I picked them, and you know, I just felt like that this was one of those games they could be competitive in, and playing at home, I thought that they'd get them. It's unfortunate because I know that they would have really liked to have won this game because they've got McLean this week, and
right.
they could have ended the season on a 2-game winning streak, right, and finished the season with 3 wins, which, right, is not, right, a lot of teams go worse than that. Absolutely. So I'm sure they really wanted to win this game, but it was we felt like it was pretty evenly matched, and Barren County was able to pull it out.
Right. Good thing for Ohio is they have already clinched the postseason berth.
That's correct.
So they still have that to look
That's
forward
right.
to. Well, let's talk about 6A. We had a big showdown between Henderson County and Apollo. This was a game, let's go to the clip of that. This was a game where you felt like Apollo could really set themselves up as, if not winning this game, at least they show they can play with tough competition and, do what they need to do. And all of a sudden it's 42-0 at halftime. It was just a complete breakdown for Apollo. It ends up being a 56-7 Henderson County win. And it's easy to see what the problem was. 7 turnovers by Apollo, yeah, including 5 interceptions. How surprised are you, not that Henderson won, but that it just completely fell apart?
Well, I'm very surprised. I mean, I felt like Apollo has underachieved all year, and I think they underachieved in this game as well. You just can't make 7 turnovers against anybody and expect to win, and much less Henderson County, a very focused, very disciplined team that has a very strong offensive and defensive line, good running attack. Now, you've got to take care of the football, and you've also got to drive the football against teams like this and limit their offensive opportunities, and Apollo did none of that in this game, and they paid for it with a 56-7 loss.
Well, Apollo was one-dimensional at best, considering they had -5 rushing yards. Corbin Jewell only completes 5 of 13 passes for 117 yards. And, 5 interceptions. It's hard to overlook the 5 interceptions. And I give Paul Bates credit because a lot of coaches will soft sell that issue. But his quote in the paper was, "We're going to have to find an answer at quarterback." You just can't be making that many mistakes and your team have a chance to win.
No, it's just far too many. I mean, when you play quality competition, you've got to move the chains. These coaches talk over and over, Scott, about ball control and being able to play field position and things of that nature. And when you're turning the ball over, you're just fighting. It's like swimming upstream, the whole game, just fighting against the wind the whole game. And Apollo did that. And when you do that against a quality opponent, they're going to make you pay. And Henderson County certainly did that.
It's hard to get a read on Apollo's defensive effort in this game because the defense was put in so many bad positions by Apollo's mistakes. It's easy to see that they gave up 56 points, 42 in the first half, and think the defense, boy, they must have really laid down too. But it's important to note that sometimes defenses are just put in no-win situations, and I think that happened a lot in this game. And I think Apollo's defense is still better than maybe some people realize.
Well, I think so, and I think that what happens is that when you give a team like Henderson County a short field, they're a ground-oriented team anyway, and they've got a really like a 2-pronged rushing attack, Scott, that is really effective. And you just can't give them the short field, and that's no commentary against Apollo's defense, really. It's just an unwinnable situation there.
Potentially the biggest problem of all for Apollo, and we're seeing the clip of it right here as we talk about it. You saw Elijah Dillard go on a huge 80-plus yard run, but Apollo has failed to take advantage of opportunities all season long. They didn't score after that run. He gets knocked out around the 10, and then they get no points out of it. You have to finish.
Yeah, and they haven't finished all year, and that's why they're sitting 2-7, and during a year where I thought they were going to have a winning season. So, I mean, it's just been disappointing, and I think that they would admit that themselves, and hopefully they can come back this coming week against a very good Madisonville team and show something, because Apollo is in the playoffs, and I mean they've got to get geared up and try to get this thing fixed before a couple of weeks.
The other 6A game was Daviess County going down to Graves County. Daviess loses 14-7, but I think in a way that's a win for Daviess because they had so much trouble here recently.
Yeah.
Graves County's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
So that showed they came to play, if nothing else.
That's a step in the right direction for Daviess County, and they're to be commended with regard to this effort. I know that Coach Campbell doesn't believe in moral victories. A few coaches do, but I do think that this was a very excellent effort for them against a pretty good Graves County team. I know that Zach Cox and Crite, they kind of split the quarterback
right.
position, and they were able to use Crite in a slot back position, and he was effective in that.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see what happens here in the final game against Catholic, how they decide to go. But yes, it was a very good defensive effort. You know,
yes.
Davis's defense has struggled recently,
right.
and this was a very good defensive effort for
right.
the Panthers.
Well, we've still got the big 2A matchup between Fort Campbell and Owensboro Catholic to talk about when we come back, but first we're going to take a quick break.